Well, a very messy and convoluted season leads us up to what might be the best episode the show has given us yet. Hey guys, come over the season finale of Fear the Walking Dead, Season 2, Episode 14, North, and Episode 15, Wrath, and I really didn't know what to expect from this finale. As you guys know, Fear the Walking Dead has been a show that pretty much since it started, every week it's been really good, then okay, really good, then okay, and especially for this second half of the season, some of it has had a lot of potential, and it hasn't exactly delivered on that potential. I think it's gone some very misleading directions and just some very underused characters and things like that. So I really didn't know how this finale was going to be, but I gotta say that aside from a few problems I have with this finale overall really impressed me. I really love this finale overall, and like I said in my video, this might be the best episode we've ever had of this show. I mean, this episode was epic. It had some really revealing stuff to it, and honestly set up for a very harrowing and dark Season 3, definitely, but let's just get in this episode because I really do want to talk about it. In both of these two episodes, they did a very good job. Was it a perfect finale? No, I definitely do have a couple complaints. Starting off with the first scene, I'll get into, but we start up with Alycia, who I really did like the way this was done. We see she's driving down this bumpy road until her truck stalls and she starts steaming. And again, we don't really know where Alycia is going to, but she stops, she lifts the hood to check it out. The parts are too hot, so she removes her shirt and wraps it around her hand to get a grip of the parts. Suddenly, this walker approaches and she slams the hood on its arm. Crazy stuff, but she used this hammer, she takes down another walker and locks herself in the truck. And if there's anything to say in this episode, one of the biggest themes is that our characters definitely are starting to figure out what to do with a walker. I mean, they know how to kill a walker, they know that they need to, kill these walkers, they can't let them survive anymore, and definitely we start to see that. So that's something I definitely really did like, is that there's no, oh, we can't kill these walkers because they were people once. There's none of that going on, and I really do like that. It definitely seems like, guns blazing, and it really just seemed like they know what they need to do to survive. And the window on the driver's side is open, though, and another walker grabs on. She puts it down, gets out to put down a fourth, and again, this is a perfect example of something we didn't really get to see in The Walking Dead. I mean, this is an entire car filled with walkers. Alycia then laughs after looking at her work. She puts down the walker pinned in the hood, gathers her belongings. I was surprised that she was able to get out of there so quickly. I thought that they were going to kill her off. I'm glad they didn't, but she sets off on foot as a pack of walkers follow behind her. She's walking along a border wall, and we don't see her for the rest of the episode. So where's Alycia going? I don't know. What happened to Daniel? I don't know. Why was she, why did her car stall out? I have no idea. That is my problem with this episode, is that the episode in general forgets a lot of the major things set up in the beginning of this season, and this second half in general has forgotten a lot of it. I mean, barely has anyone mentioned Daniel. I don't think anyone seems to care that much about Daniel. They're not concerned if he survived. It doesn't seem like they want to hold any sort of service for Daniel. They don't give their condolences to Alycia. The only mention we got of Daniel really was that scene with Alycia where she's saying that she misses Daniel. Other than that, we have gotten no mention of Daniel whatsoever, and it just feels really strange, honestly. I mean, Daniel was one of the best characters in the show, arguably, I think, and losing him really is just ridiculous. I don't know why they got rid of Rubén Blades. He was a very talented actor. I really love what he had to on the show, and I guess he's dead. I mean, it's a really stupid and just kind of a pathetic and dumb way to kill off a character, and the fact that they just killed him off and not tell us anything, I don't really know if I like. But anyway, the rest of this episode was good. That part really did kind of piss me off. I was hoping we'd at least see Daniel, but no, nothing really with him. So night falls. Nick is laying beside Luciana in bed, and I'm glad that we got a lot of stuff with Nick, because again, we didn't see that last week, and this really did make up for it. We got some really good stuff with Nick in this episode. He slips out of bed and out of the house to meet the man he's going on a run with. They sneak into the pharmacy to collect some drugs, loading up before sneaking out of La Colonia via the school bus and the fence, and at the hotel, we see Travis wakes up to see Madison sitting in front of him. She's been there all night thinking, and basically just thinking that he's back and knowing what happened to Chris. And Madison tries to assure Travis that he did everything he could for Chris and that he kept his promise to Liza. Because again, the main reason Travis is upset is not because that he wanted to maybe help Chris. It's the fact that he feels he broke his promise to Liza, and she will continue to remind him until he believes it, and when he's ready, he should come downstairs to be with the rest of the group. And this, by far, is the strongest stuff in the episode. All this stuff that involves Travis and Chris's relationship, surprisingly, is some of the strongest stuff in this entire episode, and I think they did a really good job with setting this up. But Nick and his partner then arrive at the supermarket to see Marco, and Alycia then brings Travis food at the hotel. He's surprised to see her. She opens up the curtains before revealing that she is sorry about what happened to Chris. She feels guilty, but Travis tells her that she was just scared and had every right to be, and that she kind of feels like she, is kind of a part of it, that she was getting close to Chris and everything, and she feels like that very much drove him, and I understand why Alycia did that. I was kind of hoping those two would get together. I remember at this point, I was saying in season 1, I want Chris and Alycia to get together, but whatever direction they took with Chris this season just really didn't work, and that's one of the reasons why I wasn't happy about it. He says that Chris was sick, and even he couldn't see it. He wishes he had protected her better as well, and that he really didn't do much. Travis is very regretful. He feels like he wasn't really a good, possibly stepfather to Alycia, but he also wasn't a good father to Chris, and just all of the regrets and the guilt that Travis has is really looming on him, and honestly, like I said, I think it's one of the strongest points this entire episode, definitely. So at the supermarket, Nick is escorted to Marco past a group of armed men who are staring him down. We don't know why, but a man with a scorpion tattoo in his face questions Marco on how they will get into La Colonia, and he says with a lot of firepower, and he walks outside to see Nick, who wants to make a deal. If they deliver every week on time, Marco will leave them alone, which I think that's pretty fair, honestly. If they decide to deliver and basically adhere to them, I think it's the right thing to do. I mean, again, these are people who obviously they don't want there, but they kind of can't really do anything about it. I mean, these narcos are going to take over unless they make a deal, and I'm glad that he did decide to make this deal. I thought this was well done overall. I definitely enjoyed this pretty much, but basically, we see, Marco leaves him alone. Marco says that he actually likes Nick. He's different from anyone he had ever met, but they don't need him anymore. So now Marco and the man who controls all the drugs in Tijuana are best friends. Now, because Marco has a fortress, he tells Nick that if he doesn't want to die, he should leave La Colonia today, which I think that's probably a safe thing to do. It doesn't really seem like the best place to be. And Nick questions what all of his people should do, but Marco doesn't care. He shows him Francisco's family, all dead, including the little girl, and threatens Nick to leave now or die, basically. If he doesn't leave now, he's gonna die, and he needs to listen to, gives in to Marco's demands, which was obviously sad to see, because that Nick has made such of a role for himself here. This is the place where he kind of feels like he belongs, but you can tell that it's just not really a safe place for him. I will admit this was a little bit convenient, the fact that he had to leave Tijuana just so that he's going to reunite with his family. That's what I thought they were doing, but that's not exactly what they're doing. We'll get into that, but at this point, I thought this is kind of too convenient. But anyway, Madison and Alycia walk through the crowd of people at the hotel. Brandon's making jokes about the Mexicans smelling bad, and Alycia wants to send them away. She just doesn't, see, she gets very bad vibes from them. She feels like they don't really belong here, and Madison approaches them. They're very obnoxious, and they describe the accident that they were in, saying that their buddy who was driving didn't make it, and the second they're like, I'm like, shit, are they talking about Chris? I really didn't know who they were talking about. Brand is mad that they let their friend drive. They joke about their friend growing up in LA with a license, and she puts together that this might be Chris. The fact that, she knows, and I thought this was really smart of Madison, because Madison in the past few episodes has not been the smartest cookie, really. I mean, she's really someone who, she's had these ideas, but they just haven't really worked out. But Madison was really smart here, because she's thinking of the story that Travis tells her. She knows how bothered Travis is by what's going on, and knowing that these guys are here, holy shit, these guys could be connected to, what happened to Chris. And she rushes into Strand's room, who's barely in the episode, may I just say. He's in the episode a little bit, but doesn't really play that substantial role here. He's looking very healthy, questions what she should do. He says the old rules of conduct no longer apply. He doesn't want to tell Travis that they're here, and Strand questions what gets Madison up each day, and she says that it's her kids, and that's the thing that makes her, and I thought this was a good scene. He talks about, what makes her, so okay with herself. What's the thing that she says, all right, I can get up every day, and that's her kids, and he says that people need to keep that motivation and hope, and without it, Travis will die, because if he knows that his son is dead, he's going to end up killing himself, and he needs him to keep that hope, and I understand, definitely. I mean, especially living in this world, they're just, when things are just getting worse and worse, one of the things you need are your kids. That's probably one of the reasons why Rick is able to wake up every night on The Walking Dead, because of Carl. He knows that Carl's alive, and as long as Carl's alive, that gives Rick a reason to live. Knowing that his son's okay, knowing that he's gotten his son through all this, that gives Rick a reason to live, and I thought it was kind of cool the way they connected it to that. And again, that's just a, comparison, but we know it's in the same world, so Nick then gets back to La Colonia. Luciana's angry with him. He tells her that they're coming to La Colonia and that there's really nothing he can do about it. So obviously she's kind of angry about what's going on there, but really wasn't, nothing really that Nick could do. I understand obviously why Luciana's upset, but there really wasn't much he could do here. So he goes into Alejandro's pharmacy. Alejandro's angry. Luciana wants to come with a plan. A dead man in the infirmary reanimates, tries to bite Nick, but Alejandro takes the bite. Nick and the zombies then fall to the first floor where the walker bites a man's nose off and another woman's finger, and he drives it, and we get what might be the most brutal walker kill we have ever gotten. I can't believe they actually did this. But Nick ends up driving his thumb into its eyes until he damages its brain, which was so hard to watch. But honestly, I can't believe the show actually went through. I really can't. I mean, they said going into the season this would be the most graphic season of anything Walking Dead we've seen, and they weren't wrong, because this was extremely graphic. I can't believe what we got here, and I don't know how you top that, honestly. I have no idea how they top that, and the fact that The Walking Dead hasn't done something like that is truly astounding, the fact that we were able to do that. So that was awesome. I mean, as sick as it was also awesome. So the room sees Alejandro's bite, and he covers it with his sleeving, telling him he's good and to carry on. So Nick is getting very suspicious that maybe this guy has been a fraud, and that maybe he has been lying to everyone. So elsewhere, Ophelia continues her journey on foot. She's in the middle of the desert, and again, we don't really see much of her in this episode. So back at La Colonia, prayers bust out as the two bitten victims prepare to sacrifice themselves to the undead. Nick still is reluctant to accept the practice, but Luciana is completely on board. She's kind of been involved in this. She feels like she knows what's going on, and she feels like they have nothing to fear. So back at the hotel's parking garage, Andres offers to help Brandon's shoulder, and they're going to escort the boys elsewhere, which causes a major stir in the parking garage. Travis is then fully enclosed when he hears everyone yelling. Travis sees the boys from the window, starts banging on it, yelling for Chris. Strand sees what's happening, is startled. Travis rushes down the stairs to the gate to meet the boys, and obviously he wants to know where Chris is. And the way that they weren't able to keep this hidden, I thought was a little bit silly, but I thought overall this was so well done when we get to what happens. But back at La Colonia, Nick frantically packs his things. Alejandro walks in. Nick calls him out for being afraid of the bite. Alejandro doesn't want to reveal Nick's alleged truth, but Nick says that the only way Luciana leaves before Marco arrives is if Alejandro admits to lying, because he knows that Alejandro's lying. Alejandro says that he is not immune. She feels his forehead, feels his fever, and Alejandro tells her that he was bitten by a junkie, not a walker, apparently. And he lied to her to help build the community, to protect himself and those in it. So I've been right this entire time, guys. I predicted this from day one, that it seems that Alejandro basically crafted this lie to keep the community stable. In reality, he was in fact bitten, and he seems like he's very sick, but he was in fact bitten by a junkie, not a walker. And that's something else that Nick can very much, attest to, because his girlfriend, Gloria, she turned into a walker, as we know, and she was a junkie, and Nick pleads with Luciana to leave with him. Alejandro tries to convince Nick to stay, but she feels betrayed and will leave with Nick, and this gives Luciana that purpose to leave, because she feels that this entire place that she's been at all this time, it has been a fabricated lie, and she feels like she doesn't want to be here anymore, and, she feels like this isn't really for her, and I thought they did a really good job of getting them out of La Colonia, because this was the, supposed to be that safe haven for Nick. This was the place where he felt like he could be like himself, and people accepted him for who he was, and he finally felt like he belonged somewhere. But knowing that this was all a lie, and knowing that what he's believed in and the practice that this town stands for has all been a lie, that gives them a reason to leave. So he leaves sad by the truth coming out and loss of trust. I kind of wanted something more here. I wish they would have maybe us know already that Alejandro was lying. I just feel like it would have added a little bit more weight to his character, but Nick holds Luciana, tells her that they have to go, but she doesn't want to leave. She wants to stay back and fight for La Colonia because the faith they have has protected them, and she's not leaving. And I don't know why she's not leaving. This really was perplexing. I don't know why she would not leave, but Ophelia continues to walk until a bullet hits the ground by her feet. Another zips by moments later. She rushes down a hill, hides under a tree as a man with a rifle nears. She draws her knife and prepares to attack the man, but he takes the knife and welcomes her to America, we find out. So she's gone to America, it seems, which is interesting to see. So I thought that was surprising that we saw that. I thought she was going to go back for Daniel, but apparently not. She's in America. All right. So Travis's group marches Brandon into a room for questioning. They'll insist that they'll talk when Brandon's shoulder is fixed, and Andreas pops it back into place with ease. Travis begins questioning him, and Brandon wants safety, and they want a car. Madison agrees, and Brandon starts telling Travis what happened, and this scene was incredible. Honestly, all the bullshit we've had to put up with this Travis and Chris plot really made up for this scene. This scene is truly tragic, it's truly sad, and I think it perfectly portrays the loss of a child very well. He and Derek were getting tired, so they let Chris drive when he offered. They drove into a camp, as seen in a flashback. They rolled several times, and Chris went right through the windshield, broke his neck, by Brandon's account. Everyone leaves the room. Travis asks what they did with Chris, and Derek says that they pulled him out, buried him. Travis locks the door, catching the boys in a lie, realizing that they did in fact bury him, and he knows that obviously they're lying. They know that he knows that that's definitely not what they did. So he starts wailing on Derek and Brandon, and Brandon tries to escape. Such a crazy scene. I mean, we've never seen Travis this enraged before. And honestly, all of that bullshit from season 1 of him being like, I don't want to kill a walker, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, him now wailing on Derek, I think perfectly shows how far we've come with his character. I mean, now that he's lost Chris, the one last good thing in his life, the one thing that made him feel like he could get up every night, now that he's lost him, he feels like now it doesn't matter. Now that he lost him, he has no one to protect. He obviously has Madison and people like that, but now he really has no one to protect. The one thing that he really wanted to protect in life and maybe turn around is gone, and Brandon tries to escape. The two boys start to fight him, but Travis is winning, all the while asking what happened. Brandon promises to tell him where Chris is. Brandon says that they killed him, they put him down, they had to, and we see Chris is crawling out of the car with a bone popping out of his leg. Brandon and Derek walking behind, and Brandon raises his rifle, shoots Chris in the head, and, I mean, they're not wrong. There really wasn't anything they could do. Obviously, he was going to die, we know that, and, Travis starts wailing on Brandon. He breaks his arm, puts him on the ground. Derek gets in the fight now too. Travis starts pounding his head on a freezer. Andreas tries to get in. Travis slams the door in his face. Travis continues beating a busted up Brandon on the floor. Derek hits Travis in the back with a chair. Travis turns the fight around, starts choking Derek out on the ground. The two boys crawl to one another, but Travis throws Derek through some glass, which was just so crazy. Travis steps on Brandon's head, stomping it once, kicking it, and stomping again, and he literally killed them. I mean, it's insane to see, but Travis did in fact kill both of them. And in the flashback, Brandon and Derek walk past Chris's lifeless body, and in the present, Travis mirrors the moment over Brandon's. He sits down in a corner, short of breath, basically coming to terms of what he did. Obviously, I think he's kind of stunned that he actually killed both of them, but that is how the first part of this ends, and I thought overall was a very strong first part. The first part was kind of slow, but that really makes up once we get to the second half of this finale. So fading into From Darkness, Travis in a corner is near a dead Brandon. Andreas and Hector break through the windows to get in. Madison rushes to him after they unlock the door. Oscar's laying on the ground after having his head hit with the door. Elena's group grabs Travis, escorts him out of the hotel, and Madison wants him to stop, but Strand insists that she calms down. So Madison takes Alicia's knife, goes back inside to put a stop to the boys from reanimating. Obviously, she knows that they might come back as walkers, so she's going to try to kill them before they do. And just before she does, Brandon starts to become a walker. Now, I don't know how this happened so quickly. This part really confused me because I thought it takes you a while to become a walker. You don't just automatically become one. That was very strange. But again, like I said, this finale wasn't perfect. But in general, the show hasn't been perfect. So Strand calls it to her attention. She puts him down, and back at La Colonia, Lucian then tends to Alejandro. He's burning up from the fever, but she insists the others can't see him like this. He needs to gather his strength and lie one more time before he dies, and obviously, he's on the verge of dying, definitely, so Strand and Madison argue about what's going to happen to Travis, Madison, Alycia, to Travis, obviously, because now that he's killed two of the guests, what's going to happen to him. Madison and Alycia then want to find for her, and Strand doesn't care. He insists that Travis can stay. Alycia volunteers the group to leave with Travis since they know that he obviously can't stay. Strand questions why Madison would leave for the man who abandoned him. He already chose not to kill himself with Thomas, so he's not going to die for Travis or any of them, because obviously, left, he didn't leave for Thomas, things like that. So why would she do this for Travis? And I like the way that those two things really do coincide with each other. Strand's grief for Thomas and now Madison's concern for Travis. I thought that was really well done overall. So Madison and Alycia talk to Hector and Elena about Travis asking for the night, and then they will all leave. Obviously, they really have caused Travis really has been a disaster, and he's a mess right now, and they just really can't have him there. But they basically say, look, we'll stay for the night, and then we will leave. And Madison wants Travis to be freed from his holding in the meantime, and after discussion, they agree that he'll get to leave. So Madison sends Alycia to check on Oscar before walking in to talk to Travis. She tells Travis that he has to leave, and she's going to leave with him. He insists that Madison is safe here, but she won't change her mind and invites Travis to wait the night out with her. So a la Colonia, Nick hustles after Luciana, who's clearly planning something. What it is, we don't know, but she's distant from him. He wants her to come with him. She mocks him, encourages him to run, and Alycia approaches Andreas, who is tending to Oscar's head wound. Oscar hasn't woken up, and Andreas will have to remove part of Oscar's skull to relieve the pressure of his brain swelling. He and Hector begin a cut into his head, and Alejandro then approaches La Colonia, prepared to give a speech. He tells him how happy he is to see them again. I thought this was a good, final speech for Alejandro to give. He tells them the men with the guns are coming, of course, being the narcos. Simultaneously, Nick prepares to leave through the school bus. Alejandro encourages the group to unite in a fight against them, saying that their faith will hold them, and Nick looks down the zombies flocking to him. Alejandro tells everyone they will not die, and Nick, covered in blood, walks away from La Colonia. He finds a helicopter, uses binoculars to see it landing in a new community, and it was a really cool shot, the way it was done. We see that whole community and everything, and Andreas then drills into his brother's head. Travis and Madison then talk privately. He tells her that he is not sorry. Madison understands why he killed and will understand why he will in the future, because they will have to in order to survive. And this I love, because this is a scene that really has been a long time coming. I mean, throughout the show, Travis has not wanted to kill walkers. He's just felt like it's not the right thing to do. He's felt that killing is wrong, and Madison has kind of agreed as well. But now that they've gone to this experience together, and they've seen so much, and they've known, what they've had to do, and knowing that Chris can die, now all bets are off the table. Now they're going to kill if they need to, and they know what they have to do to survive. And I really do like seeing that, because now it really does show that these characters are aware. I mean, that's really, I think, a perfect example of great character development. They did develop these characters, and I thought they did a good job with that. So Andreas and his family then realize that Oscar's dead. Andreas used a knife to damage his brain, and the group then rushes into Travis's room. They start beating him. Madison tries to stop him, but Andreas draws a gun, points to Travis, obviously because he's a danger to the hotel, and suddenly Alycia stabs Andreas. A fight ensues. Strand grabs the gun and kicks everybody out. They leave as Alycia sees Andreas dying on the ground. They head out, and Strand tries to keep up, holding his side as they're getting in the truck. He hands over the gun, tells her to go, yells, get closer, and Travis drives them away from the hotel, literally through the gate. And in the back of the truck, Alycia struggles with what she did, knowing that, she did in fact kill Andreas. I mean, this is the first time Alicia's ever killed someone, and Madison tells her that, she's very proud. She tells her that she'll be okay, and again is realizing that they need to, do some things that would be unjust. There is no such thing as unjust in this world anymore. Things are different now, and I think they're really starting to realize that, and that definitely is one of the major points of this episode. So back to La Colonia, Alejandro struggles with his infection, prepares for some medication. Nick walks in, surprising him, starts to help him crush the drugs. Alejandro and Nick talk, and Alejandro cares about his people, and I thought this was a good scene because they didn't really justify what he was doing, but you understood why he did what he did, and Alejandro cares about his people. He insists, and Nick tells him to let his people go, let them run north, and Alejandro brings up reasons not to let them leave, but Nick tells him that the people will live, including Luciana, if he is brave enough to let them leave. As he injects medication into Alejandro's wrist, the drugs kick in, and Alejandro dies. Obviously, he just wanted to go. He felt like Nick would be the right person to take over, and really, I don't think he's wrong. I mean, Nick is someone who really has made a great impact on them. He felt like he was helping them, but now that these narcos are coming, you don't really know what to make of La Colonia anymore, and I thought it was interesting the way this was done, but Alejandro fades out, and it's kind of a sad moment, definitely. Honestly, kind of did feel bad for Alejandro, but Travis and Madison then arrive at a broken down building seeking shelter. It's the supermarket, and they go inside looking for the leader, but it's completely empty. And they find the family Madison saw talking about Nick, though, and she insists that they may have survived where they live, so they search for wallets. And Alycia questions what they're doing, just as they find IDs, and Marco's army then pulls up to La Colonia with several drugs and even more guns. One man pries open a wall. The men enter through the field of infected. Marco orders them to fire at the undead, take them down. Marco pushes forward, getting through the school bus. He sees no one, claims that Nick took his advice, got everyone to run. The Colonia is empty as the men walk around, still with guns drawn. Alejandro looks at them from a hiding place. He's weak, and I thought he was dead, but apparently he's not. Marco declares that everybody left, and the men fire their guns in the air. Alejandro stumbles into the school bus and starts it. Marco hears it, runs to the sound with his men. Alejandro hits the gas, starts towards La Colonia, opening the gate for all the infected to pour in. Marco's group hurries to take them down, but quickly turn to retreat, and there's that brilliant wide shot where you see them, leaving, and you see all the cars and things like that. I thought that was a really cool shot overall. So the former residents of La Colonia walk down streets together, heading north to the community Nick is found, and I'm guessing that that's where they're going to go, obviously because La Colonia is not safe, but I guess there's another community that they're going to go to. Either way, you definitely see Nick as being the leader of all this. So Luciana then carries this little girl who asks where they're going. She tells her north, and they arrive at the United States border. So it seems like we're going back to the U.S. next season. That's what it seems like to me, at least, but I don't know. We'll have to see. So Madison, Alycia, and Travis then arrive at La Colonia. They see all of the dead, and I'm like, okay, here we go. This is going to be the moment where they all meet up, and Madison and Travis move forward to check things out, telling Alycia to stay back. They find infected roaming the community, including Marco, but Alycia finds Alejandro in the school bus. She tends to him as Alycia and Travis get back there. Madison tells Alejandro she's looking for Nick and learns that he is headed to the border, and Nick then leads the Tijuana community across the border. Once across, he uses binoculars toward what he thinks is a camp and sees a helicopter taking off. Unfortunately, men pop up from beneath cars. They start shooting. It's absolute chaos. Luciana calls out for Nick, gets shot. I thought she was going to die, but Nick helps her away from the gunfire. A man runs to her, calling for others, saying that they've got a bleeder. Madison uses Alicia's knife to put down Alejandro, seeing that he's dead and he's going to turn into a walker. So men in American Army gear beat Nick and Luciana down, and it's really bad. We see they're getting them beating down, and they're losing. They really are. Clearly they're being invaded, and they didn't leave, so obviously they're going to be beaten down. Madison then turns her attention back to the search for Nick, realizing that she's now put down Alejandro. She now needs to find her son, who subsequently might be leaving, and that is the way the season ends overall. But let's get into this episode and the season, and really how I feel next season is going to be. So overall, I thought this was a really good finale overall. I thought there was some really great payoff in here, and especially with the action. I mean, a lot of people say the show is very slow, but they really did pick things up here, and I really did love that overall. I'm glad that they made the decision to kill off Chris, and I'll say not just because of the fact that he's on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I knew that he probably was going to die, because if he's on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and he's playing such a big role in, Robbie's brother, I didn't think he was going to last on this very long. But also because I feel like they went in this really weird direction with him this season. It seemed like at first that he was upset at Travis for what he was doing, and then all of a sudden he just started killing, and he started defying his father, and it just really was a broken arc that really was not working. So I'm glad they ended it, because I really could not stand that character after what they did with him, and I'm glad that they made the smart, intelligent decision to kill him off. As far as Nick and Luciana went, you guys know this is my favorite plot of the entire season, and I like where it went overall. I like that Nick and Luciana now basically have to own up to what they did. Even though that Alejandro's dead, and that he was the one that did all this, they did in fact follow this. They basically believed what Alejandro was doing. I think Nick was always suspicious, but Luciana always believed in what he was doing, and either way, they were illegally using drugs and things like that, so now they definitely are going to have to pay for what they did. It seems like everyone's going to the United States next season, which is interesting to see. I don't know where Ophelia's going. There are a lot of unanswered questions, definitely, but you definitely get the sense that everyone is going to meet back up next season, and things definitely are getting darker. Like I said, Madison, Travis, they now know they have to kill. They no longer are, hesitant or reluctant. They now know that, hey, if we are in danger, we have to kill someone, and that's just going to be the the way it goes. You know, there's really no ifs, ands, or buts about it, which was interesting to see, and I really did like that. Still no mention of Daniel. I just thought there was going to be a mention of Daniel when we saw Alycia, but not really. It seems like she's going to the United States, and there's that guy who was Unser in Sons of Anarchy. I'm looking forward to seeing their dynamic overall, because I think that's going to be interesting. And then, I guess as far as Alicia's now killed someone, you know, Travis has killed someone. They're really going to have to deal with what they did, and I think that's going to be very interesting overall. But that's really what I say about the finale. For the season, this show in general has really been very mixed for me. And I really thought, you know, in season 1, you guys know I defended the show, and I thought it was a lot better. Season 1, most of the characters were together, and I thought that it worked for the most part. They only had 6 episodes. I thought what they needed to do there. There's a difference between 6 episodes and, you know, like 15 episodes. And I feel like what the show was able to do in 6 episodes is a little bit more impressive than what the show was honestly able to do in 15 episodes. Not that it was bad season, because there were some really strong high points. I mean, we really got more into Strand's character. He had a lot more to do. We found out more about, you know, the family dynamic overall, but we didn't really learn anything that substantial. Like them learning that their father was killed, okay, that's interesting to see, and us knowing that he actually committed suicide, yeah, that's fine. And us not having to deal with the Alycia Madison stuff, I'm happy with that. But they just didn't really do as much interesting stuff as I think they could have done. They could have taken some of these plots in a more interesting direction, like the hotel plot. I knew that wasn't going to last. The second that it started, it wasn't really lasting, and you never really, you know, felt like these plots actually were going to be successful. You really knew that this was going to be one of those things where it wasn't going to last long, and I was hoping for La Colonia at least that would last long, but it doesn't appear that way. Although there was a point in Walking Dead where I didn't think the Alexandria Safe Zone was going to last long, and that did, so I don't know, maybe La Colonia will last longer, we'll have to see, I really don't know. Either way, guys, this was a very messy, confusing season. There were so many times in the season where I couldn't figure out what the writers really wanted to do. And despite the fact that I do think there were some very strong episodes, I am going to give this season of Fear the Walking Dead a 3 out of 5 or a C+. Not a bad season, I will say that. I don't hate this show by any means. I'm not one of those people that absolutely hate this show. I just feel the show can be so much better. It always seems like they're going in these really interesting directions, and then the next episode, they'll completely nix anything that was interesting about that direction, and they just go in these really weird, action-packed directions that I really didn't think the show needed to do. The show is best when it focuses on the family and their dynamic and how they deal with what they're going through. That's when the show is at its best. The action is fine. What they did in this finale I thought was fine, but overall, very, very confusing character motives, very uninteresting character arcs, and just a lot of uncontinuity. There are a lot of things that we still don't have the answer to, like what happened to Daniel, things like that. It just didn't seem like the show wanted to take many risks, and I'm glad that it did towards the end, but especially in the first half, really didn't seem like the show wanted to change up much, and unfortunately, it changed up too much, and it does give us, hopefully, a very, you know, it does lead us into what might be a hopeful Season 3, but I don't know if that will be enough to really redeem the show, because as good as this finale was, I don't know if the show will ever be truly great, and that really worries me, because I feel like the show has tremendous potential. It's just not really delivering it, and still, in Season 2, it's not delivering it. It's kind of ridiculous to think about. But overall, guys, to my review of the season finale, let me know what you guys thought of this finale overall, loved your thoughts on it. Like I said, it was very impressive, the finale. I just feel like it's giving me the same thing, though, where the finale's hopeful, we go in this hopeful direction, and then next season it goes in this, you know, it's boring again, because when the show's boring, it's very boring, you guys know that, and I know I was a bit more harder on this season. I'm pretty sure you guys are happy with that, because not many people really do like the show. I'm one of the few people that actually do watch the show. I know a lot of people have probably dropped the show by now, but that's my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys thought of the season overall, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Which, guys, I am so excited for the next video, because it will be for the series premiere of Westworld. I'm waiting for the show for so long, and finally comes out tonight, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.